Hi, my name is Horst, and today I will tell you about the What's Going On experience and the accompanying research into participation in the urban planning process through the use of virtual reality. In the past decades, citizen participation in urban planning has become more important. In recent years, the practice of co-creation has become a popular tool to include citizens in the process. We know co-creation as a process in which stakeholders are involved in cooperatively sharing and developing opinions and perspectives towards an outcome that contributes to the overall development of a project. What we see is that in large and slow processes, such as urban planning, there is a risk that co-creation becomes too abstract and will be difficult to engage with for the stakeholders. So, with the What's Going On experience, we tried to explore new ways of including citizens in the urban planning process of the island in the Swedish city of Umeå. What's Going On is a virtual reality experience that presents the users with different perspectives on the to-be-developed area. The aim of the experience is to provide users with the confidence to think in a freer, creative way about the possibilities the development might have for the area. This approach emphasizes the experiential and emotional skills of participants over the more traditional ways of citizen participation. The designed experience tries to build on embodiment to engage participants both physically and expressively. So for our research, the What's Going On experience was used as a discussion tool in 8 expert interviews. The people interviewed all worked in the field of design and urban planning and were familiar with the city of Umeå. In these semi-structured interviews, we asked them to reflect on the experience, the impact it had on their perspective, and the interactive qualities that are part of the design. The experience consists of 2 parts, named the gallery and perspectives. I will now explain how the participants were taken through these 2 parts of the experience and will go into the outcomes of the interviews. Before the experience started, the participants were asked to complete this coloring page. The coloring page is derived from the 360 photo that was taken on the city side of the Umeå River. This location will have a view on a new development once completed. The participants were given complete creative freedom to complete this coloring page. After completing the coloring page, it was digitized and the participants were introduced to the context of the development and asked about their current perspectives on the development. They were given the VR headset to be immersed in the first part of the experience, called the gallery. The gallery is a virtual space in which multiple images appear. Using gaze-based interaction, the user can enlarge the images by looking at them. Using this same interaction, participants are able to move through the space to previously designated areas. The images in this first virtual space portrayed historical scenes of the Umeå River and the island, as well as maps and aerial photos with information on the planned development. To enhance the engagement with the images, soundscapes that fit the content of the images are played when the corresponding images are enlarged by the participant, just as you can see now. The participants were given as much time as they wanted to look around in the gallery. After completing this step, they were asked a few questions and the second part of the experience was prepared. After the questions, the participants were asked to once again put on the VR headset for part 2 of the experience called Perspectives. So when starting part 2 of the experience, the user is placed on the banks of the Umeå River. The virtual space consists of the 360 images taken at 2 locations, one giving the perspective from the river banks on the city side and the other placing the participant on the riverbanks of the island. Starting from the city side, the environment slowly fades into edited versions of the 360 images and drawings of users of the previously mentioned coloring pages. With every fade, the user is placed in a different environment and perspectives are merged. The loop ends on the banks of the island. In the experience, the fading and merging of scenery builds on 2 effects. First, there is the fading of different 360 images through the use of an animated opacity. The placement of opaque pink areas is an element that gives the user control of what is displayed. When looking at them with the cursor, the pink areas change the 360 image. Secondly, a more complex effect is used to create the merging of perspectives. We call this the stereo effect. Here there are two different images projected for the left and right eye, creating a merging of two perspectives when experienced through VR. This effect is an extreme version of stereoscopy, where there are two slightly different images displayed to each eye to create a perception of depth. In the What's Going On experience, the stereo effect does not only create depth, but also creates a merging of perspectives and elicits a physical embodied engagement. One's dominant eye has the effect that one image becomes more visible than the other, but a change of focal point or the closing of an eye can change one's perception. So, after being taken through the second part, we had a deeper discussion with the participants on the experience. From a thematic analysis of the transcribed interviews, we found three main design qualities that came forward. These three qualities were titled Creative Freedom, Ambiguity, and Immersion. The analysis also showed us that the design had a positive impact on the participants' openness to other perspectives, as well as on their creativity. I will now go a bit deeper into the findings. So, when designing for perspective taking in VR for participation, there should be a degree of creative freedom. With the What's Going On experience, the lack of contextualization during the creative task allows participants to stay in their creative comfort zone. It engages the creative process differently because there are no preset requirements or goals. So, for creative freedom, the framing of the drawing task, the lack of contextualization during the creative task, and the merging of personal creation with other people's creations helped with the design quality of creative freedom. Ambiguity can be used as a tool to trigger exploration in virtual space. Through creating ambiguous environments and ambiguous interactions that increase the ambiguity of the virtual environment, you allow the interpretive abilities of users to contribute to the sense-making of these virtual environments. Within the What's Going On experience, the toggle effect, the visual manipulation of the original footage, the stereo effect, the continuous merging through fading, and the continuous loop of the experience all contributed to the design quality of ambiguity. And finally, immersion. The immersiveness of the experience plays an important role in the effectiveness of the tool for participation. There are a lot of elements that play a role in creating an immersive experience. In the What's Going On experience, the things that contributed most to the immersiveness were the added soundscapes, the balancing of stimulation, the smooth transitions of images and natural horizons, and the sense of control or the lack thereof. So I would like to conclude with saying that the outcome suggests that these qualities may offer guidance when designing for perspective taking in VR in the context of urban planning. Apart from these qualities, we observe two important effects of the experience of the users. The users expressed that it stimulated their creativity and gave them a more open mindset to the future urban developments. It is also important to mention that to test the actual effectiveness of this design and the use of VR for perspective taking in urban planning, a larger scale study needs to be conducted. This follow-up study needs to include participants that properly represented to be affected citizens of the urban development. Following such a large-scale study is the need to verify the effectiveness of VR in urban planning compared to other participation tools and methods, such as co-creation. Thank you all very much for listening.